Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Jason Mackey's First 10, a quick hit podcast to get you ready or through the day, whatever the case may be. Today is Friday, July 5th. Hope everyone had an enjoyable 4th of July. I'm here in beautiful Erie, Pennsylvania. We went away for a couple days with the family, sort of become our 4th of July tradition. So still following things, of course, watching the Pirates, struggling to understand what is going on as much as many of the rest of you, as they lose 2 of 3 from the Cardinals, really need to kick it into gear. Wraparound series starting with the Mets. We're going to talk about that. It's Friday, so it's Q&A time. I'm going to take a bunch of your questions. They are all centered around the Pirates, and predictably so. Before we do that, though, first want to remind you that we're sponsored by the North Shore Tavern. You don't have to be a baseball fan to love it there. The interior, it's wall-to-wall Pirates. There are appetizers, entrees, cocktails, and, of course, steak and seafood on a sizzling lava stone. Open every day, the North Shore Tavern across from PNC Park is Pittsburgh's home for steak on a stone. All right, so a bunch of good questions, relevant questions right now with Jared Jones going on the IL, the shape of the rotation, what they're going to do at the deadline, if they're going to do anything, this, that, and the other. Okay, MC asks at M00Coin, is Luis Ortiz the odd man out of the rotation? Everything else on the roster, the Pirates posted it as in order, which makes me surprised Ortiz and Falter aren't swapped on it. I don't know if what you mean necessarily by order. I was a little surprised to see Ortiz used in a leverage role the other night. To me, he makes the most sense in the starting rotation. I don't think that's where they're going to go. You're going to see Skenes tonight, Bailey, Falter on Saturday, Sunday, TBD, Mitch Keller in the Monday game against the Mets. It would make sense for that Sunday game maybe open for Luis Ortiz, but I expect him to be more of a long guy, bulk guy, whatever you want to say. If they don't want to traditionally start him, I completely understand that, but him being in that leverage situation, I'm not sure is the best thing for him, best thing for the Pirates. He has shown an ability to do more, and frankly, I think they should get back to that. I was a little surprised that they got away from it in the first place. Falter, you keep running him out there. He's not an issue whatsoever for me. He's starting against the Mets as you would expect him to, and I would expect that to continue as well. John Beckage asks a similar question. What does the rotation look like if Jones goes on the IL? Obviously, Martin Perez is going to be in it. He was very good, and unfortunately, that went for naught in the final game against the Cardinals. So you've got Jones on the IL, Keller, Skenes, Falter, Perez. You could go with an opener and Luis Ortiz, as we're talking about. You could also bring Quinn Priester back. I don't think that's far away. I don't think Marco Gonzalez is far away from coming back as well. And maybe you see any and all things. I think what they're going to be looking to do is space out Paul Skenes starts a little bit, give him some more rest. But one sort of sneaky important storyline here with the Pirates, as much as we've talked about the big three and what that looks like, how much that rotation can sort of keep them in it. They need more from Marco Gonzalez. They're going to give him an opportunity to prove that he's healthy and can contribute. And frankly, before he went out with an injury, he was pretty good. And I think has the ability to hold down a spot in that starting rotation if he continues that. What do you do with Martin Perez? I think there's a bigger question here that sort of the 900-pound elephant in the room with what becomes of the Pirates. If you take a realistic step back and think about what they have right now. 41 and 45. I tweeted this yesterday. They'd need to go 44 and 32 over their remaining 76 games to finish with 85 wins. If you look at the National League wildcard and what the cut line is probably going to be, it doesn't need to be exact, but you're looking at about 85. If you expect them to go 44 and 32 over their final 76, that translates to a 94 win pace over a full season. Are you optimistic about that? I'm not. And I think that I'm well aware of the criticism of me is that I can be, too positive at times or not negative enough at times. I don't see 44 and 32 coming out of this group. I just don't. Now, I hope I'm wrong, but that's a tall task. Okay, that takes us to the next line of thinking. What do you do if there's not a legitimate chance to do anything? And are you going to trade Marco Gonzalez? If so, what for? Are you going to trade Martin Perez? If so, what for? Aroldis Chapman is heavily overpaid as a setup guy, $2.5 million or $10.5 million. I wish they could get him for $2.5 million. But he has pitched a lot better of late. And if it's that level of Aroldis Chapman, and perhaps the Pirates take back some money on that contract, Maybe they can get something there. I don't want to see them sell off assets. I'm just looking at this realistically. And if you're not in it by the trade deadline, which again is 25 days away, something like that, it's a realistic conversation. I also have to look in the rearview mirror and think, why hasn't anything been done? If you're not going to make the playoffs, if you're going to fade, if it's going to be another sell-off year, are they really going to get to that point without anybody really being demoted, anybody being traded in or out, anybody being fired? Like, that's not acceptable. If you're saying playoffs are the barometer, which again is what Bob Nutting has said, and you're not there, and you faded, and sort of like the Penguins, where Kyle Dubas is saying, we did the same thing that we did last year, we're going to go about it a different way. The Pirates didn't really go about it a different way. And what they did outside, spending money, it wasn't enough. We've talked about this before. It was like $34 million. And I got to check up on this stat, but it used to be about -1 WAR. I think it's got a little better, especially with Rowdy and him heating up and Chapman being better. So it's probably positive at this point, but I can't imagine it's much higher than a half a win above replacement or something like that. So it just takes us to an interesting point where, I don't know if I threw this one out there earlier, but John Albers asked, what's the probability that the Pirates actually go out and get a bat? You would like to think good, right? The owner came out and said, we need offense. We need to supplement offense, this, that, and the other. Why haven't you done it? Why haven't you done it? And I think it's a crucial time now to sort of separate some things and I guess have teams figure out if you're a buyer or seller. That shouldn't be prohibitive now. If you need a bat, and Nutting even said this, you need to be prepared to move early. And I'm sorry, you accumulate prospects, you restock your system, you do it for this time. And they talked about this a lot in the years of rebuilding and whatever you want to call it, that if there's going to be a weakness at the major league level, they need to do something to address it. Well, there's a weakness at the major league level. What are you going to do to address it? And time is certainly running out. Going to be really curious to see where that goes. In the meantime, I want to take a short break. It's a message from our wonderful friends in Bradenton. You can check that out, and we'll be back on the other side.
Embrace the laid-back charm of island life while sinking your toes in the sand and discovering real, authentic Florida in the Bradenton area. Unspoiled beauty and pristine beaches, a vibrant waterfront downtown energized by local arts and culture, fresh Floridian cuisine with a flourish of rich history, and friendly locals ready to welcome you to this preserved paradise on Florida's Gulf Coast. Plan your visit today at BradentonGulfIslands.com.
All right, welcome back, and always enjoy that message. A couple more questions here about the Pirates before we call it a day. Robert Sir asks, thoughts on Skenes in the All-Star game? I say no. Every pitch he throws is one he won't be able to throw in September 2025. No problem, just not this year. I disagree with you, Robert. I want to see it. I think it'll be fantastic. I was thinking about this. I saw something, maybe Jeff Passan was on ESPN talking about wanting to see Skenes starting. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair to guys that have pitched the entire season. Like I think about, Chris Sale or something like that. Like he's having such a strong renaissance season as more starts. The ERA is darn close, way more strikeouts. It's just had a dominant year end to end. And, or I should say beginning to, selection point or whatever. It's nothing against Paul. Paul would probably be the first one to say that, somebody like Chris Sale should get the ball. Now, does that mean Paul Skenes shouldn't be in the All-Star game? I say, heck no. He's been fantastic. He's done everything since he's been here within his power to show that he deserves to be on that level. Put him on that level. It's also going to be highly entertaining to see him face some of the National League's best. I'm not particularly worried about, the arm volume or something like that. Like it's a showcase. He's going to be, if anything, he's going to just be worn out from interviews, but Paul's really good about that stuff. So it wouldn't be a concern. I just think it would be a great storyline for Major League Baseball to promote. Jared Schoaf asks, what's the organization's plan for Liover Peguero with outfield help needed and Cruz at shortstop? He seems like a candidate to have at least gotten some reps in the outfield in the minors. He hasn't. He hates the outfield, doesn't feel comfortable out there. So, I put that in the category of these guys aren't, cells on a spreadsheet. And it's not made for everybody. I certainly wasn't on the level of these guys or anywhere close, but I did play a little bit of baseball in my life above high school, played in college, and in my 20s and whatnot. Like, I couldn't play outfield if you gave me a year to work on it. I don't think. It was just the moon to me, to quote Moneyball. And I think that's maybe the same way for Peggy. Just doesn't like going out there. One interesting candidate, though, I'm surprised this has not been seen. I've hinted at this at other times. Nick Gonzalez grew up playing the outfield. Likes it a lot, feels comfortable out there. I'm surprised that hasn't been revisited. When he got to New Mexico State, he made the transition to infield. It actually may have started in high school, if memory serves. But whatever, he has a pretty good background playing the outfield, but I've yet to see them try it. We'll see. All right, two more. Jake Tepper, I believe it's Tepper, T-E-P-E-R, maybe Teeper. I'm sorry, Jake, if I butchered your name. Is Aroldis Chapman still a likely trade candidate if Pirates are in playoff position, using him as a way to add longer-term assets like Vogelbach and Holderman? Daniel Vogelbach traded for Colin Holderman. We know that. I would try to avoid it at all costs. As I talked about earlier, I think that would send a very loud and not appealing message to the fan base to trade somebody like that, especially not knowing what's going on with David Bednar and the injury stuff. And I mean, it's waving a flag in the wrong direction. And I'd like for them to stay in it and contend as long as possible. Now, that's going to be incumbent on having a better Mets series, better Brewers series, winning more games, staying competitive. Again, don't want to see them sell off assets. Bill at Baron of Baird Street asks a 4th of July question. What do you enjoy more, 100% beef hot dogs or hot dogs with multiple layers of types of emulsified meats in them? Any and all, I guess. If I have to pick one, I think I'd go with the beef hot dog. If I have to pick anything at a 4th of July picnic, I'm going barbecue. If somebody's making barbecue ribs, that's gonna take the cake for me 100 times out of 100. But I'm equal parts emulsified meats. That's a good way of putting that. Burgers, I don't turn down food at 4th of July picnics. Love to eat, and we'll take any kind of hot dog. So, all right, guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe and get more of these videos. We're going to take a break for the weekend again. Hope you have a wonderful weekend again as well. We'll be back here, same time, same place on Monday. Talk a little Buccos Mets and set you up for the final game of that series. Thanks so much for watching, everybody.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.